Welcome to the continuing series of South Florida Hospital News leadership videos. Today, we have our conversation with the CEO of Broward Health Imperial Point, Judy Frum. Judy, welcome.
Welcome to Broward Health Imperial Point.
Thank you,
Nice to have you here today.
Yeah, I've been here a few times, but it's the first time here actually meeting Judy at the hospital. So Judy, tell everybody as they're watching this your position here and how long you've been here.
All right, well, I'm the Chief Executive Officer here at Imperial Point, and I've been here for a little over 9 months so far. So it's been a great journey so far.
That's great. And before you got to Imperial Point, what was your path to get here, your educational path and your work path to get here?
Well, I actually started out in the clinical realm. I started out as a respiratory therapist, and then I went on to nursing school. From nursing school, I went to get my bachelor's in nursing, and then I've had a lot of great mentors in my life who really encouraged me to go the leadership track. So I went back to school and got my MBA, and that kind of started my trajectory through the leadership. And that's how I ended up as a CEO.
Oh, that's great.
Of a healthcare hospital.
And before this, where were you?
Before coming to Broward Health, I was actually at Memorial
Oh,
Healthcare
okay.
System for 15 years. And I was the Chief Operating Officer at Memorial Regional.
Oh, okay, great. I've known a few people at the regional. That's great. So, family background. Tell me a little about your family background.
So I was born and raised in West Virginia.
Oh, that's
I'm not
nice.
a Floridian. I am from West Virginia.
I'm not a Floridian either. I'm transplanted here, so.
My mom and dad actually still live in West Virginia, and all my family still lives in West Virginia. So I went to school there through college, and then I migrated to Florida for the warm weather.
Really, yeah. It's kind of a permanent snowbird, as one might say.
Right.
So during your career path, and you, I know you've had a lot of different positions within the healthcare industry. What were some of the major challenges you faced during your career, from kind of the beginning part of healthcare into nursing, into respiratory therapy, into leadership and executive?
You know, I think it's about the foundation is not. You know, when you're given a position in leadership, it's about staying in that position and really learning where you're at. You know, one of the things I see nowadays kind of with a lot of leadership is people tend to go from one position to the next and not really absorb that foundation. I've been fortunate enough that every position that I've been in, I've really had great teachers. So, you know, that was what I think that's what has made me so successful. When I take over a different position, or I've learned a new position, I really walk a day in the life of those people that I represent. It's taught me a lot. It's helped me to stay very focused and driven. And it's helped me to be very strategic. And these are all things that I've learned through, you know, great mentorship, great leadership.
And who are some of your mentors? You can mention names, it's okay.
Well, I have to first go back to my mother and dad.
Right, absolutely,
I mean, they
for sure.
really instilled integrity, a moral compass in me, you know, always do the right thing. But throughout my career, I've had wonderful mentors. The first person that ever gave me a leadership role was Aurelio Fernandez.
Ah, okay.
And that's when we worked for Tenet.
Right.
And I will never forget that day as long as I live. It's still in my head. And when he tapped me on the shoulder, I was like, oh no, I'm going to stay here and take care of patients. I'm not ready for this leadership thing. But he encouraged me, and we actually, you know, once I parted ways with Tenet and he parted ways with Tenet, we actually came back together again at Memorial. So I consider him, you know, crucial to my success as a leader. You know, there's Zeph Ross,
right.
Who was an amazing mentor. He still is to this day. I can pick up the phone and call him anytime. Leah Carpenter.
Right.
You know, I've been very fortunate. Here I have Shane, who has been a wonderful mentor.
And but Shane was also at Memorial too.
He was. So I learned from everybody. You know what I mean? I think that's, I'm like a sponge. I like to hear things. And what I like from mentors is tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear.
Exactly.
And that's very important to me because I feel that's the only way that I'm going to grow and get better. So good, bad, or indifferent, I want to hear about it.
Yeah, and I always find that with mentors, and when I've talked to a lot of people, even including myself, is that you don't take everything from a mentor. You take bits and pieces from every mentor and then create your own.
Right.
And create your own. And
Exactly.
and the people that you have mentioned are just wonderful people in healthcare. I mean, they're the icons of healthcare in South Florida.
They are. They for sure.
Really are.
For sure.
So, what is your day over at Broward Health Imperial Point look like? What's your I know there's no such thing as a typical day, but what does your day look like?
You know, for me, the first thing that I like to do when I get here is check in. You know, make sure that we're well staffed, that there's no patient concerns, that my team do they need anything from me? I like to take a walk through the halls just to say good morning to everybody. Some days are full of meetings, some days aren't, where I get to be a little bit more present here. But it's a lot, right now it's a lot of strategy. It's just trying to figure out what the next steps are. What is healthcare going to look like in the future, and how does Imperial Point kind of fit into that mold? Because things have all changed. Things that will probably never be the same, especially after COVID.
After COVID, absolutely correct.
Right. So, so what does that strategic vision look like? How do we fit into it, and how do we take care of our community? You know, and where does Imperial Point fit into that that strategy? Well,
that's a good segue into. I know you've only been here for 9 months, but tell me the history of Broward Health Imperial Point. Tell me, it's your 50th year.
It is our 50th year.
So tell me a little bit about what you've learned, what you absorbed through the history of Imperial Point, because this is kind of an icon facility here in Broward County.
And I wondered why, because I didn't know a lot about it. You know, I spent a lot of time in the South District. This is the North District. But the one thing that I learned, this hospital's been here for 50 years. That in itself is remarkable. But it really, what makes this hospital special and sets it apart is its culture. It has a warm, friendly environment. It has a great nursing staff, great physicians. All of that combined kind of make it that special concierge type hospital where you really want to go and have your care done. So, you know, that's what I learned when I first walked in. I just felt this excitement and warmth. A lot of great people in the building, and just how do we tell our story?
Right.
You know, because you have to constantly be telling your story to stay relevant. And this is a growing community. I feel like Imperial Point has a really important part to play in this community as it grows and develops. And it's exciting just to kind of figure out what that's going to be.
Yeah, and I think Imperial Point and a lot of areas in Florida have morphed into what they used to be.
Yes.
Okay, you know, it's funny where I live also, where when I moved in, there were a lot of older people. Well, I'm older also, but a lot of older people. Now all of a sudden, I'm like the oldest person on the block, and all these young families are moving in.
Right.
You know, so you know, to me, I think Imperial Point, this whole area, is also like that too. Are you seeing that with the hospital?
Yeah, actually we are. We're seeing a lot of younger families move in. I mean, we have a children's park behind the hospital, and it's full of children all the time. So you're seeing the community evolve as well.
Right.
So, you know, and I think that's where healthcare has to kind of, you have to pay attention to that.
Pay attention to your surroundings.
Pay attention to your surroundings, who your community is, who you're serving, and how do you serve them to the best of your ability. So, you know, as I look at the demographics and watch it change, that'll all be a part of the strategy, you know, for Imperial Point for the future.
Right.
And for the future of the community, because that's why we're here.
Right. This is really taking care of the community within a certain, I don't know, distance, maybe 10 miles or 15-mile distance. And it's really an important part. It's really, like I said earlier, like an icon for the neighborhood.
Right. And part of it's being, you know, a part of a healthcare system. Because whatever I can't offer here, it'll be offered in one of our sister facilities. So it's great to be a part of a system that has such a robust culture and connection to this part of the community.
Oh, absolutely. And I know over the years, Imperial Point has really, it's always been here, and you can always count on Imperial Point being here.
And it'll be here for the future.
Absolutely. And that's one of the important things. I think the neighborhood needs it.
Yeah.
And you have to adjust to what the neighborhood needs, and like I said, it's just changes are crazy.
Right.
I know you hadn't been here during the COVID era, but you were in the hospital during the COVID era. What did you, as an individual leader, learn during that COVID period? I'm assuming we're over, but I think we're over. But that COVID period that makes you a better leader today with your staff?
You know, that was a very challenging time for all of us. And you know, you look back and you reflect and you think, what did I learn from this? Because we all had to learn something from this. You know, and I think one of the things is you had to be okay with change.
Oh, yes.
And as a leader, for me, going in to that hospital, to a hospital every day, I had to make sure the staff knew it was okay that things are going to be changing on a daily basis. And they were changing on a daily basis. But they had to get their strength from the leadership team. You know, we had to go in with the mindset every day that things are changing, but you got this. You know, we've got everything that we need to be successful and take care of the people in this community, and we will take care of you. You know, but I look back on that and I just think things were changing so rapidly, and how did we even manage that?
Right.
But I think it goes back to great leadership and making sure that everybody felt safe to the best of our ability. I mean, I don't think anybody truly felt safe during that time.
That's right.
But as a leader, I felt like that was my role, was to go in every day, you know, make good decisions, protect the staff, take care of our patients, take care of our community, and you know, I'm a different leader today, probably because of it.
Right. So you're what I would say, a lot of leadership, when you look at a lot of organizations that are out there, healthcare organizations, they all had a playbook. Everybody had a playbook. Okay. That playbook today has to be very liquid, fluid, to be able to change. And I think that's, you've seen that, so being able to, how do you apply that to the changes here? Are they as critical to you when something happens now, or is like, oh, I can get this?
You know, I think it's always being mindful. I'm not one that likes a reactive culture. I like to be very proactive and thoughtful when I'm making decisions. And I always like to make sure people understand the why.
Right, exactly.
Most important. That, you know, a lot of times something happens, we react, but it may not have always been the right thing to do. So it's always take a deep breath, take a step back, and kind of figure out what that proactive approach is so we can sustain it, whatever the change needs to be. But I also, you know, I also remind everybody, you also have to tell everybody what the why is.
Right.
You know, understand what the why is. Why are we doing this? Why do we need to make a change? And then people will join you. You know what I mean? But if you're constantly being reactive and that authoritarian type leadership from the top down, it really doesn't work.
Now you have to work with your.
You have to work with people and make them part of the progress.
Sure.
Or the decision, or whatever, you know, whatever it is you're trying to do.
Absolutely. A lot of people will be watching this, and a lot of them are going to be students, or what I would say interns, or the people just starting out in the industry. You've been through a lot of different positions. What one piece or two pieces of advice would you give to those individuals that might make their journey to keep in the back of their mind as they, as I say, embrace the healthcare journey?
You know, number one is, I'll go back to a prior statement, is learn where you're at. Don't be so anxious to get a role and then want to jump to the next role. Take the time, be mindful, learn where you're at. Learn from the people that surround you, whether that's a mentor. Learn from the people that report to you. They can teach you a lot. You know, the second thing is be empowered. Don't be afraid to make decisions. It may not be the right decision, but some of the wrong decisions have been some of my biggest successes.
Right.
And don't be afraid to fail. I mean, it's okay to fail.
We all fail.
Right, everybody does, and you have to be okay with that.
Right.
You don't have to be perfect, and surround yourself with a really good team of people that support you and have a good energy. I think that's imperative.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. And finally, kind of, and I asked this question, and it's really kind of a, what keeps you up at night? I mean, as CEO of a hospital, you're responsible for the patients, you're responsible for the doctors, you're responsible for the nurses, responsible for the people, the tech people, everybody, from the security people. What keeps you up at night? I mean, there's so much responsibility, so many things moving at the same time. How do you balance yourself? How do you balance life?
For me, it's an awesome responsibility and awesome privilege to take care of the people in this building as well as the people in this community. So what keeps me up at night is ensuring that they have everything they need to take care of this community, but also that everybody's safe, and that we are providing the highest, safest care possible, and that I've provided them every opportunity to do that. But that's my number one priority, and it will always be my number one priority, is that the patients and the employees are at the center of everything I do and every decision that I make.
Mm-hmm. So finally, it's not on the script per se. So if somebody's watching this and they're saying, I heard something about Imperial, why would you go to Imperial Point? As a patient, obviously your doctor may recommend, but if you had the choice, why would you go to Imperial Point? What would you tell them?
You should come to Imperial Point because you're going to receive outstanding care. It's part of a wonderful healthcare system, the Broward healthcare system. We provide safe, high-quality care, and we care about you, and that's why you should come here. You are at the center of everything that we do here.
That's great. Judy, I appreciate you stopping by, and I know you got a busy day, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.